everybody. Dr. Ryan here, board certified specialist internist. Hope you and your family are well. Thank you so much for joining me even as we unpack and break down a whopping 53 causes of weakness. If you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, what are you waiting for? Smash the subscribe, like, and share buttons. Okay, guys. So, neuromuscular weakness in general can be partitioned into a couple of main headline headings: upper motor neuron lesion, lower motor neuron lesion, neuromuscular junction, and muscle, which is myopathies. Upper motor neuron lesions, okay, is defined by weakness together with brisk reflexes or upgoing reflexes, all right, and diminished tone, okay, and the muscle also usually doesn't have fasciculations and is not wasted because of no loss of the tropic factors coming from the upper motor neurons. But disuse atrophy over the long term can give rise to flaccidity. Okay, so we can stratify those causes into those coming from the brain and those coming from the spinal cord. Lower motor neuron lesions is characterized by weakness with flaccidity and hypotonia, all right, and diminished reflexes or absent reflexes. And so that broadly is categorized into anterior horn cell, root or plexus lesion, and peripheral nerve. Neuromuscular junction, the key word there is fatigability. As you progressively contract that muscle, the weaker and weaker it becomes, right? And we got some examples of those. And then myopathies, as we know, is characterized by proximal weakness, right? They call it stairs, hairs, and chairs. Difficulty waking up from a chair, difficulty ascending stairs, difficulty hanging up clothes, okay? Proximal, so it's pelvic and pectoral girdle weakness, okay? Okay, so headline causes of upper motor neuron lesions coming from the brain classically is cerebrovascular accidents, could be a brain tumor or a space-occupying lesion, brain abscess, multiple sclerosis, and ADEM, right, which is acute disseminated encephalomyelitis. Spinal cord, there's a whole truckload of causes, guys. Spinal cord compression, right? It can be intradural, extradural, trauma to the spinal cord, infection within the spinal cord like transverse myelitis, vascular disease like anterior spinal artery occlusion, nutritional disease like vitamin B12 deficiency, multiple sclerosis and ADEM, once more, transverse myelitis, sarcoidosis, could be a paraneoplastic syndrome affecting the spinal cord, hepatic myelopathy, hereditary myelopathy, surface myelopathy, and Keystone disease, which is decompression sickness. What affects the anterior horn cells, guys? In the lower motor neuron lesion, classic is amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, progressive muscular atrophy, progressive bulbar palsy, then flail arm and flail leg syndrome, which are kind of offshoots of the same pathophysiology, West Nile virus, polio, which sits in the anterior horn cell, and a spinal muscular atrophy. What affects the root or the plexus? Things like compression, diabetes, very important, trauma, infection, arachnoiditis, sarcoidosis, once again, neuralgic immunotrophy. What affects the peripheral nerve? Now, in peripheral nerve, you've got to take a history for diabetes, amyloidosis, drugs, rheumatoid arthritis, uremia, and malignancy. Right, but this can masquerade or manifest as being a mononeuropathy or mononeuritis multiplex, where you're picking off named peripheral nerves. Like you got a foot drop here, you got a wrist drop there, you've got a cranial nerve 6 palsy here, right? Those things. Metabolic polyneuropathy, toxic polyneuropathy, especially with glue sniffing, right? Infectious polyneuropathy, inflammatory polyneuropathy, and inherited polyneuropathy. But you can just remember, a nice way to remember these causes of peripheral nerve neuropathies is stag gland, sarcoid, thyroid, amyloid, Guillain-Barré, lead poisoning, alcohol, nutritional, and drugs. Stag gland. What affects the neuromuscular junction, guys? We said the key word there was fatigability, is myasthenia gravis, Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and organophosphate poisoning. But how do you differentiate clinically between myasthenia gravis and Lambert-Eaton syndrome? Is that with repetitive muscle contraction, myasthenia gravis gets weaker, but Lambert-Eaton syndrome actually gets better. Okay, myopathy, we spoke about the pelvic and pectoral girdle involved. We spoke about proximal weakness preferentially, right? And that can be due to medications, especially statins and steroids, toxins, electrolyte disturbance, especially potassium, deconditioning, endocrinopathies. So we know all our endocrinopathies essentially. So thyroid disease can do it, adrenal disease can do it, acromegaly can do it, critical illness, polyneuropathy, rhabdomyolysis, infection, inflammatory myopathies, especially polyendermatomyositis, muscular dystrophy, and metabolic myopathy. But a nice acronym for that is peach pods. There will be polymyositis, endocrinopathies, alcohol, cancer, hereditary, myositis, or hereditary myopathies. That's the H. The P is for periodic paralysis, always for osteomalacia, drugs, and sarcoidosis, right? Peach pods. Guys, just quick one. 13 important questions to satisfy weakness on your history. So, have you ever felt weakness on both sides of your body? And this is to speak to spinal cord disease, myopathy, or myasthenia gravis, right? On both sides. There cannot be hemiparesis, right? Number 2 is weakness just on one side of your body or face, speaking to TIA or the stroke. Now, TIA, the focal neurological deficit, resolves within 24 hours, but stroke, we know, is lifelong or longer. Number 3, has the weakness affected just an arm, a leg, or part of a limb? They think about peripheral nerve or radiculopathy, stroke, or multiple sclerosis. Have you had trouble getting up from a chair, brushing your hair, lifting your head, speaking to proximal muscle weakness? There you're thinking it's a myopathy, or it could be something affecting the neuromuscular junction, or it could be diabetic amyotrophy involving the lower limbs. Have you had trouble swallowing or difficulty in speaking? Proximal bulbar muscle involvement, speaking to myasthenia gravis or polymyositis. Have you noticed diplopia, double vision? There you're thinking about myasthenia gravis. And cranial nerve mononeuritis multiplex, right? Picking off named nerves, and here lots of individual named cranial nerves. Number 7, are you taking any meds? Thinking about steroid-induced proximal myopathy. Number 8, have you had problems with your neck or back or with severe arthritis, implicating radiculopathy? Have you ever had a cancer diagnosed at any stage? Then you're thinking more along the lines of a paraneoplastic syndrome or Eaton-Lambert syndrome or Lambert-Eaton myasthenic syndrome, right? A differential for that we spoke about was myasthenia gravis, hitting out on the neuromuscular junction. Number 10, is there any problem like this in your family, which thinking about a familial myopathy or Charcot-Marie-Tooth disease, which is hereditary sensory motor neuropathy, right? Number 11, have you had HIV infection, which gives you a whole truckload, guys, of various neurological lesions and drug reactions. 12, have you ever had multiple sclerosis diagnosed? And the key thing is there you got multiple different neurological lesions separated by time and space. 13, are you diabetic? Mainly thinking about this, many different kinds of neuropathy, but mainly mononeuritis multiplex amyotrophy. Guys, that was a wrap. Thank you so much for joining me. Hope you enjoyed the content. I'll see you soon with another handy rapid review in the beautiful discipline of internal medicine. God richly bless you.